Hello students, welcome back to our Target Prelims 2026 Revision with MCQ series. And today we are in a new episode of Science and Tech. So as always, we'll discuss 10 questions and their explanation. So let's begin with the first question for today. With reference to the Rocket-Sled based ejection system test conducted by the Defense Research and Development Organization, consider the following statements. 1. The test simulated high-speed flight conditions on the ground. 2. Instrumented human-like dummies were used to record forces during ejection. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? A. 1 only, B. 2 only, C. both 1 and 2, or D. neither 1 nor 2. Please take a few seconds, attempt this question, and then we'll come back to the explanation. Done? So here we are talking about the ejection system test, and instead of conducting it in a real flight, we actually did it on ground using Rocket-Sled. So if we do it in a real flight, then damage to flight craft can happen, real damage to flight craft can happen. It is more expensive, and also human lives can be lost. So what we did, that we simulated the entire flight-like conditions, proper flight-like conditions on ground itself using a Rocket-Sled, and then these tests were performed. This ejection test was performed, and we also used dummies, like instrumented human-like dummies. Instead of real humans, we used dummies, and this was not a static test, it was a proper dynamic test that was conducted. So high speed was tested, everything was tested. Will the ejection system work properly or not? So everything was tested on ground. So the first statement says that it simulated high speed flight conditions on the ground. Yes, this statement is correct. And instrumented human-like dummies were used to record forces during ejection. This statement is also correct. So the correct answer over here would be both 1 and 2, option number C. So you can look at the explanation. We'll provide the Telegram link in the comments itself, and you'll get the PDF for this. So you can look at the explanation in detail. Moving on to the second question. The Naegleria Fowleri, recently seen in news, is a free-living amoeba that causes primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, B. virus that infects the respiratory tract, C. bacterium causing meningitis, D. parasitic flatworm found in contaminated food. So please attempt this question first. Done? So this Naegleria Fowleri is actually a brain-eating amoeba. So it was in news recently. It is a brain-eating amoeba, and it causes primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, PAM. Okay. So this is actually found in contaminated water, like in warm fresh water, ponds also, lakes also, and even in swimming pools which are not properly filtered. So it's present there, and it enters the body through nasal passage, and through this passage it reaches the brain, where it causes this primary amoebic meningoencephalitis. So cases were reported in Kerala, in Karnataka. So that is why this was in news. So the correct answer would be option A, that it is a free-living amoeba that causes PAM. Okay? Right, so this was reported in Kerala, and that is why the Karnataka government had issued an advisory, a safety advisory for the Sabrimala pilgrims, urging strict adherence to preventive measures. That is why also it was in news. Now moving on to the third question. With reference to metal organic frameworks, consider the following statements. 1. MOFs are porous materials made of metal ions connected by organic molecules to form three-dimensional structures. B. By altering the metal ions and organic linkers, MOFs can be designed to selectively capture and store specific gases or chemicals. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? A. 1 only, B. 2 only, C. both 1 and 2, or D. neither 1 nor 2. Please attempt this question. We're talking about the metal organic frameworks. Done? So metal organic frameworks are the same structures for which the Nobel Prize in chemistry was awarded in 2025. So you can see how important these structures are. Now you can think of them to be like these sponges which are extremely porous, and they have like millions of tiny holes in them. So it creates like a three-dimensional structure, a 3D net sort of a thing, which has millions of holes in it, tiny spaces, and those tiny spaces can actually be used to trap gases. Selectively you can trap gases, or any sort of filtration can take place. And interestingly, we can actually customize this. So the most important part over here is that we can engineer it according to our needs. So we can control the entire structure over here. It's like a 3D structure which is made up of this organic framework and metal ions, and it has a lot of holes and tiny spaces in between wherein we can trap whatever selective gases we need. Okay. So these are porous materials, yes, made of metal ions connected by organic molecules, correct, to form three-dimensional structures, correct. By altering the metal ions, and organic linkers, MOFs, can be designed to selectively capture and store specific gases or chemicals, right. I already told you that these are controllable, they are customizable, we can design them as per our needs, and this is one of the most important things over here. That's why we can design it in whatever way we like, and we can store and trap selective specific gases. Okay, so both the statements given over here are correct. So the option number C, both 1 and 2 will be the correct one. So 2025 Nobel Prize in Chemistry was awarded to Richard Robson, Susumu Kitagawa and Omar Yagi for creating molecular structures with internal rooms capable of storing specific gases or chemicals, right? So it's carbon-based molecules, and together these components form crystalline frameworks containing large cavities. So that's why both the statements given over here are correct. You can read the detailed explanation in the PDF. Now question number 4, consider the following: neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils and lymphocytes. How many of the above are types of white blood cells? A only 1, B only 2, C only 3 or D all the 4? Please attempt this question. Done? So all the four over here are types of WBCs or white blood cells. White blood cells are very important for our immune system, for building the immune response in our body. And when we talk of neutrophils, these are like the first responders on the infection site. Then eosinophils are also there, basophils are also there, lymphocytes are also there, monocytes are also there. Eosinophils particularly, they help us in inflammatory and anti-parasitic cases. Then basophils are also there. Basophils actually also help in blood clotting because they contain a substance. That substance is heparin, blood thinner, and they help us in blood clotting also. So WBCs, you know, they are helpful for immune response, building an immune response in our body, and they are produced in the bone marrow. Found in blood, correct? Found in blood and lymph tissues. So all the four that we see over here, all the four are types of WBCs and even more. So if you look at the explanation, white blood cells, they are also called leukocytes, correct? These are crucial components of the immune system. They are produced in the bone marrow and circulate in blood and lymphatic system. The main types we have are neutrophils. They destroy the pathogens, engulf and destroy the pathogens. Lymphocytes are there, target specific invaders and remember past infections also. So lymphocytes actually remember the past infections, and then in future if they encounter a similar thing, a similar pathogen, they can actually trigger the same response. Eosinophils, they release enzymes and toxic proteins to kill parasites and modulate inflammation, right? Basophils, they release histamine and other chemicals involved in inflammation and allergic reactions. Then we also have monocytes. They differentiate into macrophages and dendritic cells to ingest pathogens. So it's like the cleanup mechanism. They develop into macrophages and they can eat up whatever is there on the infection site. So these are all the different types of WBCs found in our body. Okay. Question number 5. Consider the following statements regarding Vyommitra. 1. It is India's first humanoid robot developed by Indian Space Research Organization to assist in human space missions. 2. It will be sent to space as part of Gaganyaan's uncrewed test flights before Indian astronauts are launched. 3. It can monitor environmental parameters like cabin temperature, humidity, and oxygen levels during the mission. Which of the statements given above are correct? A, 1 and 2 only, B, 2 and 3 only, C, 1 and 3 only, or D, 1, 2 and 3. Please attempt this question first. Okay, so here we are talking about Vyommitra. Vyommitra has been in news because it's a humanoid robot. It has been developed by the Indian Space Research Organization, and it is going to help us in our upcoming crew missions like Gaganyaan. So in Gaganyaan, our mission is to send 3 astronauts to the low Earth orbit and then also bring them back safely to Earth. So before we conduct such an experiment, before we actually send real humans into space, real astronauts into space, we want to test it, right? We want to test it. Test if everything is working fine or not, and as a part of those tests we are actually planning to send Vyommitra also. Vyommitra, which is a humanoid robot, so that she can actually go in space and see if everything, if the entire mission is working appropriately or not, if all the safety measures are taken care of, like if something goes wrong, then no damage happens to real humans. That's why we are sending this humanoid robot first. So it is India's first humanoid robot developed by Indian Space Research Organization to assist in human space missions. Correct. It will be sent to space as part of Gaganyaan's uncrewed test flights before Indian astronauts are launched. Absolutely correct. It can monitor environmental parameters like cabin temperature, humidity, oxygen levels during the mission. Correct. So it is going there to check if everything within the flight, everything in the system is actually working fine or not. So sending Vyommitra is also a part of these tests that we are performing before actually the actual astronauts can go into space. So all the 3 statements over here are correct. So the correct answer would be option D, 1, 2 and 3. So it's India's first humanoid robot developed by ISRO. It will be sent to space as part of Gaganyaan's uncrewed test flights, and it is equipped with advanced sensors allowing her to monitor environmental parameters like cabin temperature, humidity, everything. And if we talk about Gaganyaan, then the plan over here is to send 3 members into an orbit of 400 kilometers for a 3-day mission and bring them back safely to Earth by landing in Indian Sea waters. Okay. Moving on to question number 6. The 2025 TN2 recently seen in the news is A, comet, B, dwarf planet, C, asteroid, D, natural satellite of Jupiter. Please answer this question. So it's a straightforward question. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, then you don't know it. You can't really take a guess. Option number C, asteroid. So this was an asteroid which was observed by NASA, and it safely passed the Earth. No damage was caused. It safely just passed the Earth's orbit. So this was an asteroid measuring about 87 feet, roughly the size of an aeroplane. So it was very big in size. In fact, there were some 3 other asteroids also that were identified by NASA, but this was the largest of them all. So that's why it was in news. Okay. Question number 7. Consider the following. 1. Basket sneaking. 2. Confirm shaming. 3. Bait and switch. 4. Drip pricing. 5. Rage baiting. How many of the above are dark patterns notified by the Central Consumer Protection Authority? A. Only 2. B. Only 3. C. Only 4. D. All the 5. Please attempt this question. Done? So what you see on screen are 5 terms that have been in news, and some of them are actually dark patterns. Now what are dark patterns? Dark patterns are nothing but some tricks, okay? Some tricks that are used by applications and websites to manipulate users into buying them more, or making them buy things that they don't really require, or making them share extra information about themselves. So these are certain types of tricks that are used by these apps and websites, and some of the dark patterns have been identified by the Central Consumer Protection Authority. So CCPA has notified some dark patterns. Out of the 5 over here, 4 are dark patterns: basket sneaking, confirm shaming, bait and switch, drip pricing. Rage baiting is not a dark pattern. Now let's understand all these terms one by one. We have basket sneaking. Now this simply means that any extra item will be added to your cart without your knowledge. Okay, you did not add that item, but that will be added automatically into your cart. For example, when you buy any appliance, this warranty or a protection is going to be added to your cart. Some sort of an insurance, trip insurance, flight insurance is added to your cart, or a mobile cover, temper, whatever it is, something. It's just it's like an add-on, but it's not a free add-on. It is added into your cart without your knowledge. That is basket sneaking. Okay. Then we have confirm shaming. Confirm shaming, it's like putting the end user into a guilt trip by giving statements like, okay, do you want to buy a subscription? Then there are options yes and no. Instead of yes and no, it is going to be yes and no, I want to spend more money, I prefer spending more money, I don't like saving money. Such kind of statements which are going to guilt trip the end user or shame the end user for saying no. That is confirm shaming. Then we have bait and switch. Bait and switch, like you threw a bait of something else, it was a cheap bait, and then switched to something else when the actual time came in to give that product. For example, a cheaper thing is going to be shown to you, something very cheap, it's going to be attractive to you. Now when you click on that, and when the final price comes out, it's actually a completely different thing. It turns out to be something else, like new things have been added into it, something else comes out of it. So a cheaper bait was given, that was misleading, that was kind of a false bait, and it took you to something else. More and more things were added, and it became more expensive, like a flight ticket. It was shown to be of only, let's say, 1000 rupees or 2000 rupees, but when you moved to it immediately took you to the last slide, and the last slide simply said that it is now 6000 rupees. So the fact that was given before, it was actually a bait, and it was a misleading bait. Then we have drip pricing. Drip pricing is a step-by-step addition of price. Like something is shown to you, something that is very cheap is shown to you. Then step by step, there are 4-5 steps to reach on to the last level. Of where you have to actually make the final payment. And in those 4-5 steps, more and more things will be just added on to it. And like drip by drip, your price is going to increase. From 2K, it will reach to 8K, 9K, because so many intermediate steps were added in between. That is drip pricing. So these are some dark patterns, which are basically these tricks that are used to manipulate the users into making them spend more money. And rage baiting is actually not a dark pattern. It is something, it's like a response, like you have to provoke somebody's response. You have to get a response for someone, and in order to do that, you provoke anger, you provoke rage. So it's like a bait that you throw, and a bait of anger that is thrown in order to get some sort of an engagement from the other person. That is not a dark pattern, but it's called rage baiting. Okay, so out of these 5, 4 are dark patterns. So the correct answer would be option C, only 4. You can read this explanation. Now question number 8. Insecure direct object reference attack recently seen in the news is A. An attack in which malicious software encrypts user data and demands a ransom. B. A vulnerability where attackers access data by modifying identifiers in requests. C. A cyber attack that overwhelms servers by flooding them with traffic. Or D. A technique that secretly monitors user activity using spyware. Please attempt this question. Done? So here we are talking about insecure direct object reference attack, IDOR attack. So it's like a loophole, it's like a web security loophole. So for example, what happens that the attackers, they modify the identifiers of a web page that will actually take you to the required or the concerned web page. There are identifiers, they are just going to make slight tweaks in that identifier and it is going to lead them to some other page, some other somebody else's information. For example, let's say there's somebody's profile on a website, somebody's profile is there and there's an identifier like www.so-and-so-so-and-so.profile ID 101. Okay, for example, profile ID 101. Now there could be attackers who can make make use of this vulnerability, and instead of 101 they'll simply try 102 also, 103 also, 104, just to sneak into somebody else's profile and get their data. So this happens when there's in the security system on the website, it is actually flawed. When appropriate security is not given, then these identifiers can be tweaked. These are what? Identifiers. These identifiers can be tweaked by the attackers and they can just make use of this vulnerability of weak security systems, weak secure web pages, weakly secure web pages. So they can just make use of these identifiers, tweak the identifiers a little and get access of somebody else's data, and it can cause huge data leak, right? So the correct answer is option B, a vulnerability where attackers access data by modifying identifiers in requests. Okay, a slight modification in the identifier and a big data leak can happen. Even in government websites also, this is of a major threat because government has all of our private data, personal data. So government organizations also, such kind of data leaks can take place by making use of IDOR attacks. Okay. Moving on to question number 9. With respect to the National Biofoundry Network, consider the following statements. 1. It is a national level collaborative platform comprising 6 premier institutions working as a single integrated ecosystem. 2. It has been established under the Department of Science and Technology to promote synthetic biology, biomanufacturing, and research to market translation. 3. It provides access not only to government research organizations but also to industry and startups. How many of the statements given above are correct? A, only 1, B, only 2, C, all the 3, or D, none. Please attempt this question first. Done. So here we are talking about the National Biofoundry Network. Biofoundry network. Biofoundries, these are like factories for producing living entities, factories for producing biological entities. Okay, so this National Biofoundry Network is nothing but a super lab. It's a combination or a shared super lab that is being developed or that is working together. Like 6 premier institutions are developing this. They are sharing this foundry, sharing this biofoundry, wherein they are going to biomanufacture these biological entities. So it's like an engineering laboratory but for biological entities. Okay, and we have 6 premier institutions participating in this. These are super labs, shared super labs. So we have IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay, then we have IIT Guwahati also, IISc Bengaluru, ISER Pune, and NCBS Bengaluru. So we have 6 premier institutions who are working together for creating this National Biofoundry Network so that biomanufacturing can take place at an accelerated level. Okay, so it's a national level collaborative platform comprising 6 premier institutions working as a single integrated ecosystem, right? So it's a shared super lab that is being constructed, that is being built together by these 6 premier institutions. It has been established under the Department of Science and Technology to promote synthetic biology, biomanufacturing and research to market translation. Now, department is given and the objective is given. If you look at the objective first, so to promote synthetic biology, biomanufacturing, research to market translation, correct. The objective is straightforward, it is broad, the objective is correct. But when you look at the department and if you're not sure about it, then you will have to revisit it. So here we are talking about biomanufacturing, synthetic biology. It is not actually the Department of Science and Tech, but it is the Department of Biotechnology. It is under the Department of Biotechnology. That is why this statement will be incorrect. Then it provides access not only to government research organizations but also to industry and startups. So this information is also correct. So the correct answer would be only 2. Option B, only 2. So the National Biofoundry Network functions as an integrated national platform of 6 premier institutions enabling coordinated biotechnology research and innovation to strengthen indigenous biomanufacturing. Now it has been established under the Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, with a focus on synthetic biology, advanced biomanufacturing and translation of research into deployable products, right? And the network follows an open access model, so it is going to give access to government organizations as well as to industries, startups and young innovators. Okay, so the second statement is not correct, but 1 and 3 are correct. Now moving on to the last question for today. Reference fuel is used for which of the following purposes? A. Testing and certification of automobiles and engines. B. Emergency fuel reserves for strategic purposes. C. Subsidized fuel for public distribution. Or D. Aviation turbine fuel standardization. Please attempt this question. None? So we are talking about reference fuel. Reference fuel is actually a pure fuel which is used for testing purposes. Okay, it's used for testing purposes. Now, why do not we use the actual fuel? So this actual fuel can have slightly varying quality at different areas. Like in different areas, in different cities or in different areas, we can have different quality, slightly different quality of fuel. But when we talk about reference fuel, it has the exact same quality everywhere. It is for reference purposes. It is used only for testing purpose. It is very pure. It is a standard fuel. So it's testing and certification of automobiles and engines. It is used for the testing and certification of automobiles and engines. And earlier, so why was this in news? Because earlier we were heavily import dependent, but now IOC has also started manufacturing it indigenously. So reference fuels are now also being manufactured by IOC. So if we look at the explanation over here, so these are specialized high purity petrol and diesel used by automobile manufacturers and testing agencies for vehicle testing, engine calibration, emission certification and compliance with fuel standards. And India has recently begun indigenous production of reference grade petrol and diesel by Indian Oil Corporation, reducing import dependence and lowering costs while supporting automotive R&D and regulatory testing. So that's why this was in news. So that was all for today's discussion. Now we'll look at a practice question. Consider the following. 1. Agriculture and aquaculture. 2. Oil and gas recovery. 3. Waste treatment. 4. Skincare. In how many of the above applications can the nanobubble technology be used? A. Only 1. B. Only 2. C. Only 3. Or D. All 4. So please attempt this question and provide your answers in the comment section. You will get the PDF in the Telegram channel. The link will be provided the link is going to be pinned in the comment section. So please go ahead, join that channel and download this PDF, and we'll meet in a new video.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.